Suzuki community. It's Myron at Zuk's Off-Road. I did this on an 8 valve not too long ago, and of course can't make everybody happy. Someone said, gee, I wish I was a 16 valve. So there's 3 16 valves, so we're going to call this 16 valve part 1, OBD1. So it's OBD1, and we're going to go over the connectors on this engine so that you know what they are. Maybe you'll be transferring this motor over, maybe you'll be working with this motor. This particular motor is a smoker, so we're going to be pulling it out for the customer, take it apart, and hope it's never been overheated and doesn't have a cracked block. That's why I don't want to do 1.6 engines anymore. They crack too easily on these 16 valves. Anyways, we're just going to go ahead and start on this side. So basically everyone knows that the green connector with the alternator has 2 wires. It's black-white and white-red. That's for your alternator. The 16 valve has 2 VSS's. Now this is not a vehicle speed sensor VSS, this is a vacuum solenoid switch. These are the switches that open up by vacuum electronically. They open it up and then vacuum goes and does things. So here what we have is green and yellow, and we have green and white. Green and white on this car is EGR, and the green with yellow is canister purge. Sorry it took me so long to kick that out because it's different on some other cars. But anyways, your black connector with green yellow is going to be your vacuum purge, and on the OBD1 it's really simple can. It's on the firewall, looks like a Samurai. It just has one less port. Always on these cars, all of the Suzukis are going to have yellow with the white stripe. That's your water temp sensor that's underneath the thermostat neck right here. Now the ECU needs to know what's going on, and so that's always the same color. It's going to be green connector. It's going to have a red with a yellow wire, and this is that situation where it could be gray with a yellow stripe or it could be brown. Even on OBD1, you see very few of them with the brown in place of the green yellow. But remember, brown and gray yellow are universally swapped on Suzuki cars. It's like, you know, they run out of gray yellow, so they use brown for a couple of weeks and then they come back to gray yellow. So that's your ECU water temp sensor. Now what's different about a 16 valve is some of them have air temp sensors on that side, where the 8 valve would have your air temp sensor in the intake manifold. Not a good place for me to describe. I've already talked about the issues with the 16 valve and how little water's in there, so I'm not going to cover that today. On your harness, you're going to have a big square connector that comes up to this connector here, and what it's going to do is it's going to fire the injectors, it's going to do the TPS, and on some models it's going to have a EGR temp sensor. That would be a California model. This car doesn't have it. The EGRs that have the white probe, it's white cloth, it's a heat wrap, those are California models. They want another reason to have a check engine light to make sure the smog is working. So that's not a code that we care about, EGR code, we just don't. Now also on this side, because there's very few wires on this side, you have your black wire with your yellow stripe that goes down to the solenoid of the starter, so that when you're cranking it, the computer knows that you're starting it, and we call that an E-choke, and this is going to be on all your EFI Suzuki engines. For the most part, that's going to cover it. I do want you to know on the 16 valves, the DTC could be in 2 different places. Your DTC is a little white connector, 6 wires, got a rubber hat on it. It's kind of stuck down here, so we don't need to look at it. But this is where you're going to freeze time it. This is where you're going to jump codes to flash the code. You can do that on an OBD1. OBD2, you have to have a reader. That's by federal law now, and that's why they changed it. So that pretty much takes care of it. I'm not going to go over headlights and horns and stuff like that. We're only doing engine today, so let's go on the other side and cover the rest of it. Alrighty, so we're going to pick it up on this side, and I always like to start with the air temp sensor. Air temp sensor is always going to be red with the black stripe. It's going to have your gray, yellow, or brown, even on an OBD1. Mostly on OBD2, they switch that color. This is your MAF sensor. This is your gray wire with the black stripe. Not too many of those in a Suzuki Samurai, Suzuki Sidekick. There are a few gray blacks, and in this case it's being used for the MAF signal going back to the computer. Mass airflow. It needs to see how much air is coming in. There's so many things this computer does. It looks at air temp, water temp, airflow. It looks at a lot of different things. Speed of the car. All of that goes into the computer, and then it loads the injectors accordingly. So on this one here, your power wire is going to be blue-black. That is the main power wire off the relay that powers everything, and it's closed on a relay. We're not going to go over the relays today. I'm just letting you know where that power comes from. And of course, black is always going to be ground on a Suzuki car, which is nice, because on Toyotas they could be different colors, like white. I've seen white grounds on Toyota trucks. Up here is your igniter. Your igniter has the orange wire. It also has the brown wire with the white stripe, which is going to go to the noise filter, and it's going to go to the coil pack. And so they talk to the noise filter, which in this case is... try to find the thing for you so you can see it. She's a little buried. I've talked to you before about I've talked to you before about noise filters. It's buried in there somewhere. So that's where the taxon comes from, is the noise filter, and the ground path is on this brown white wire. I get a lot of you that say, oh, I've got voltage on the brown white, because you're using a pen light. The pen light can't see atoms which way they're going, so when atoms are going down the ground path, it's going to light up your test probe. So when you call me for tech support, do not have a light. Throw the light away. I need a multimeter to check voltages and things like that, because it'll show you on a multimeter if it's going away or if it's coming in. That's positive and negative, because, you know, remember the battery in high school and light up a light bulb? You got to have a circuit. So here we've got our coil pack, and then we also have our igniter on top of it. This particular distributor connector is 3 wires, and basically, I know the colors, they're white. That's pulsing let's call it what it is. It's a cam sensor. It's counting how many times the sensor is going around. Again, it's something that the computer works with. It also has the blue-black power wire and a ground wire. And then on this side over here, you have your TPS. Now the TPS is multiple colors. I'm not going to get into them. I'm just going to let you know they're gray with stripes, and then you have a blue-white. There's only one blue-white wire on all Suzukis that have EFI, and that's always going to go to the TPS. You have your IAC on this side of the plenum. The IAC is green with a black stripe, a blue connector, and then blue-black for the power. IAC is idle air controller. And so when you're having issues with your car wandering, it's usually the throttle positioning sensor or the IAC. Also, I've taught you folks before many times, the ISC, you can maybe get a picture of it here, it is right below the throttle body. That fills up with powder, then the water does not flow through there and get to the IAC, and then it idles funny, up and down and wandering. So I tell people all the time, take that ISC off. You take the throttle body off, you undo the ISC, you get rid of all the powder in there, you clean it up so the water can flow, and there are no more gaskets, so you have to use right stuff and make your gasket and then put the cover back on. On this side also, electronics are very, low key. On this side, what you have is yellow with black, which is your oil. That is your oil pressure switch on this side of the engine. Yellow with the black stripe. And that pretty much takes care of the engine management on an OBD1. Pretty simple. If you have any questions, phone call. Go wheel and be safe. Have fun. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you very much for watching the videos at Zuk's Off-Road. Bye, everybody.